Come on, work.
Work, baby, work.
Is it working? Are we live? I think we're live. Aaron, I think we have to start.
Yay! All right.
Welcome back to a show about food. I'm Mike Rao, and today I'm hanging out with my friend Aaron Chang. We're in his newly remodeled kitchen, and it's kicking off the first episode of season 2 of I was about to say a Mind of a Chef. I wish it was Mind of a Chef. With a Chang, super good. Anyway, we're here in Aaron's kitchen, kicking off a show about food and talking about my experience on MasterChef. Are we talking about other experiences on MasterChef? We're not talking about.
We're just focusing on.
We're just focusing on my experience on MasterChef. Yeah, it's an interesting experience that I had. But we're also going to be cooking delicious things. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think I see messages.
Ooh, can you read some?
Yeah, I think.
Our faces are too.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going, guys? All right, so this is working. Sorry for the technical difficulties and the delay. What are we gonna do? What are we cooking today, Aaron?
Dude, we're just cooking up a conversation.
We're cooking up a conversation.
No, just kidding.
We're cooking up roasted cauliflower. I went and found some really, really nice colored. Hey, look, it's funny because we're on delay.
Yeah.
And then we see ourselves right now running forward to the camera, and it's a little embarrassing. But
I have 5 minutes
all
of
right.
embarrassment from my predecessor.
Yeah, people are like, what the hell is going on here? I'm so confused. But it's totally okay. This is our first attempt at this. So apologies in advance if it's absolutely terrible. You're seeing us unfiltered and unedited.
Yeah. We're going to be cursing a lot, but with SpongeBob memes. I'm just kidding. Yeah, this is completely unfiltered, and we're just going to start this off with just getting to know us and then having like a questions between us. And if you guys want to, feel free. We'll just check out the comments if you guys have any questions, specifically, I guess more towards Mike. I'm kind of his mentee.
Mentee.
Yeah.
Is that like Mentos?
Yeah.
Is that plural of Mentos? No.
I don't know. It's menthol. I'm menthol. Pack of Royals.
Anyway, we were a little bit frazzled going into this. We were rushing trying to get all the best tech to work for you guys. So many technical difficulties. None of the cameras worked. None of the microphones worked. But the show must go on. We're here with you, and that's all that matters now. I think we should start cooking as we chat. What do you think?
You want to start cooking Brussels sprouts?
I think we should. No, cauliflower.
Oh, cauliflower? Yeah.
Brussels sprouts?
Okay. No.
This is cauliflower.
All right.
I actually think we should do cauliflower with a very specific topping that will soon be famous on Fox. I don't want to talk about why it's going to be famous on Fox, but I think you know which topping I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Xinjiang?
Yeah.
Do we have those spices in?
I don't know, dude. Let's just raid the kitchen and figure it out.
Let's raid the kitchen.
All right. So we are cooking. Ready to catch?
Yes. All right. We got beautiful orange cauliflower, which is quite interesting. Okay, that you can see that drop. No,
Nobody saw that.
Nobody saw that. This is still food safe. So, Mike, how did you get into cooking?
I got into cooking. Actually, honestly, like the first thing that I remember about food was being a really picky eater in my childhood home in New Jersey. I remember growing up and my parents trying to make me eat like spinach and all this stuff and not wanting to eat it. And then I went off to college and I discovered that not all food was created equal. And I discovered that I was really, really blessed and really, really spoiled by good food throughout my early childhood. Then I decided, hey, look, I can't just go living on college food by myself. I need to go learn how to cook. And that kind of developed this reputation amongst my friends as being the guy who likes food and being the guy who likes to cook. Eventually, that led to me really, really having this big personality as the food guy. And the more this personality grew, the more I wanted to make sure that I didn't let people down, make bad recommendations, and suck at cooking. That eventually passed on through many, many different stages of becoming really, really snobby about food, cooking for my friends, cooking for church, cooking for different events, and eventually onto the MasterChef Kitchen. That's where you first saw me cooking, right? That's like more or less where you kind of got to know me. But fortunately, throughout that process, I started developing really, really great relationships in the industry. And one of the relationships I developed was with this guy, who is not a chef, but he really, really likes food. I've been cooking with him for what, like 4, 5 years now?
Yeah, 4 years of just Airbnb and hosting and having everyone put all of the load of grocery shopping and cooking food after snowboarding trips.
It's always us.
And it became from a chore to everyone pretty much envying us and all of our like stage life
Still
in
a
the
chore.
kitchen. Yeah, it really is.
But interestingly, one of the things I'm planning on doing for the second season of a show about food is talking a lot about the industry. I feel like there are so many wonderful stories behind the scenes that you guys who love food never get to see firsthand. For example, I have a lot of friends who have experienced a great deal of burnout from working in kitchens and have left the industry, but still super, super love food. So we're going to be featuring a lot of those stories as we kind of explore this entire behind-the-scenes world of F&B in season 2 of a show about food. And slowly, as I become less frazzled from all the technical setups, we'll be able to be a little bit more entertaining and educate you guys about how to eat. So, purple and orange cauliflower. Aaron, tell me what you're going to do.
You're gonna roast them, right?
Exactly.
All right. Mike's one of his favorite things to do is using the oven, which as an Asian, usually ends up being a place where you store pots and pans.
It's true.
But Mike has found a way to really get a lot of flavor from the oven in the sense of the Maillard effect, and browning, and all that wonderful jazz. You want to preheat it?
Your oven is too smart for me.
Dude, it's got probes and everything. I don't even know how to use it yet.
Aaron
figure
just
out.
remodeled his kitchen, and it's absolutely
My
gorgeous.
parents did it. I don't know.
I literally could live.
Oh, you know what? It's right here. So you just turn on bake. We're baking it. Right?
Yeah, we're baking it.
And then we put it on
Awesome.
350,
No, we're gonna go
400.
all the way up
Oh, we're broiling. No,
to 500. We're just gonna be 500.
Oh, 500.
So the advantage of cooking vegetables on high heat is you get to caramelize and create a lot of flavor. If you cook them low and slow, a lot of those flavors end up becoming sulfurous and bitter, and they're not super tasty. That said, these specific vegetables that I like to roast are all in the, what is it? Which family? It's the cabbage family. So whether it's Brussels sprouts or broccoli or cabbage or cauliflower, these vegetables lend really, really well to high heat preparations. And they just taste really, really good. I'm gonna make sure that this oven is going at 500 degrees on the bake setting. And what we're gonna do, there's a roast setting. What's it? I'm gonna put it on the roast. Wow. Okay, so there's so many different settings, I don't even know what they all do. Convection.
Okay.
Convection bake.
Alright, sweet.
So we're getting the oven up to 500 degrees on convection bake, and we're gonna aggressively roast the cauliflower. Aaron is prepping some sheet trays. Apparently we have small pie tins and not a big sheet tray.
So I moved out from my
Oh
parents'
yeah,
house,
that's right. Okay.
and I pretty much stole all of their pots and pans and all the good jazz. But this place is where the atmosphere is at. That one feels more like you're in a little apartment in a big city.
Long story short, we are using pie tins because we're making do. We're making do. So look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? Super, super pretty produce. And what we're going to be doing is slicing them up into florets. One thing that people always end up tossing out that is actually super good eats is the stem of the cauliflower or the stem of the broccoli. My mom, actually it was my grandma who invented this really killer recipe for pickled broccoli stems. And I've discovered that you can do the same thing with cauliflower and even cabbage roots. So all you do is you save the stem and then you slice it up like you're slicing up a cucumber for pickles, and you marinate them in a mixture of fish sauce, sugar, and lime juice, and just let it sit for an hour, and it's already ready and delicious to eat. I often like to use chilies. If you don't like chilies, don't use chilies. If you like garlic, add garlic. It's a super, super flexible medium, and super crunchy and super delicious. Thank you for being our cameraman, Aaron.
Yeah, no problem.
Alright, so I am preserving this stem as best I can and cutting off the florets. We're just going to lightly salt them and dust them with a little bit, or add a little bit of oil so that everything comes together just fine. Man, I feel so frazzled. I hope you guys bear with our first.
Frazzled is enlightening, exciting, right?
No, frazzled is not good. But that's all right. Aaron, do you want to take some of these guys and break them up onto the sheets there?
All right.
I actually like to leave my cauliflowers a little bit bigger. Part of the reason why is because I'm lazy. The other part of the reason is because it just makes for a more meaty experience once you're actually digging into the product. I am going to check for comments.
So,
Hi,
Mike,
guys.
what is one of your pet peeves of meeting people that really like cooking, but somehow they don't seem like they know what they're talking about?
Say that one more time.
What is a pet peeve of you as someone who's a foodie and someone that makes really good food when people talk about food?
What is a pet peeve of mine? Oh, one of my pet peeves is when people talk about really, really bad food practices. So there's a guy, his name is Gordo Panzi. What is it? Gordon
Chicken Blue?
Gordon Chicken
His
Blue.
name is Gordon Blue.
So Gordon Chicken Blue is this famous chef. He's the host of all these TV shows, but he always tells the audience these really, really dumb things that don't actually work. For example, he always says, you have to take the meat out of the oven an hour before you start cooking it. Completely false. It's really, really easy to test what the advantages of that are by sticking a probe thermometer in and seeing what happens after 1 hour. He asserts that by removing the steak out of the meat out of the refrigerator, you'll allow the temperature to come up to closer to room temperature. But in fact, if you do the test yourself, you'll see that it barely makes a difference, maybe a degree or two of difference. In fact, 90% of the temperature change, actually 95% of the temperature change, is going to happen right there in your oven or right there in your stovetop, depending on how you're preparing your food. I'm gonna tilt this camera up because it's cutting off our heads.
Yeah. I can even put it up a little. Do you want to help clear the... So, this is how he likes his meaty cauliflower.
It's really pretty product.
I know, dude. Where'd you get it at?
I actually found it at Sunflower. I am a cheap Asian, and I believe that you should buy things when they're on sale and in season. Interesting fact, a lot of times when you buy product and it's on sale, it's also the time that it is the time that it's most plentiful and the time that it is most in season. Basically, you're going to get it at the peak availability, which means it's time to harvest, and it's going to be cheaper because there's a lot of it, and it's going to be tastier because it's all right. Like example, tomatoes during the summer. Tomatoes during the summer are cheaper than tomatoes during the fall or tomatoes during the winter, and they're going to end up tasting better. So buy seasonal, guys. Aaron, tell me one thing that you like to put on your vegetables.
Okay, all my flavoring has been heavily biased and influenced by Mike, and the reason why is, well, let me just tell you my flavoring. I think I love sweets. I like sweet and spicy, and definitely a sour acidity because it makes you want to keep eating it. And I feel like anything vegetables or most stuff should be a really nice side dish that makes you want to keep eating meat because it cuts into the fattiness or the juicy richness of the meat. And so to me, it would definitely be like lime or vinegar cooked.
So what I'm hearing, and I feel like we have some Thai watchers right now. I think Elizabeth and my brother are on. And what I'm hearing is very Thai sensibilities from a Taiwanese guy. That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Basically, in Thai culture or in Thai cuisine, we believe that food should be balanced and bold and super, super bright. That means sweet, sour, salty, spicy.
Exactly.
You get them all together and you marinate all those flavors together, so 2 + 2 ends up equaling 6 somehow. It's like the concert experience going to a really, really wonderful Los Angeles Philharmonic rather than hearing Yo-Yo Ma as an individual player like Italian food is.
Exactly.
So, next up, we are going to prep Aaron's spices. Do you want to rummage and see if we can do what we have?
Well, it's not like there's a couple of lemons underneath this little fancy cart. If you want to see our get setup rig, I went to Best Buy, bought a bunch of stuff. It didn't work out for our DSLR. Sorry, this is totally making your headache spin. Oh my god, I can't even talk. But yeah, I have lemons. There's lemons. That's the whole point. We're going to use lemons. We're going to make this kind of like a Thai style, right? Garlic, lemon, chili, so-and-so.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Basically how we would want our food during lunch.
So, real quick notes. one of the things Aaron said earlier was he wanted me to talk about things that irritate me. And things that irritate me are ways that people perpetuate really, really silly ideas about food that actually make food taste worse. For example, one of the things that people always say is that you have to sear meat and then finish it off in the oven. You'll hear Gordon Ramsay say that all the time on his shows, but it's absolutely false. The way you cook meat is to gently, evenly cook it and then finish it off on the stovetop. That's the way to make a great steak. To kind of explain his thought process, he asserts, and the classic French school of cooking asserts, that what you do is you sear the meat, and then that sear will seal in the juices so that your steak ends up more moist. That's totally false. At the end of the day, if you sear your meat, that layer of sear doesn't do anything to keep the moisture from leaking out. So, gently cook your meat and finish it off on the stovetop. Aaron, what are you doing?
I am trying to fix this tripod so we can move around and get more dynamic movement.
Got it.
I hope it's okay because I know the camera's pretty low right now.
This is absolute chaos. I really hope people haven't decided to kill themselves because of our.
Speaking of chaos, let's see, pickle.
What's up, Sean?
What are people saying? I think you mean the fridge. It doesn't make a difference with oven reverse here. Okay, cool. What is your proudest food moment? Oh, okay.
What is my proudest food moment? My proudest food moment was actually probably. Oh, actually, I know what my proudest food moment is. I hope my nephews and my niece are watching because you guys are my proudest food moment. It's not cooking for Gordon Ramsay. It's not cooking for any other chefs, any of the world-renowned chefs that I've had a chance to train under. But in fact, it's cooking for you guys. I remember when Alan was super, super stubborn about broccoli. And now every time I go over, he's like, cook your broccoli. And I remember when Emily wouldn't eat her Brussels sprouts. I think it was Brussels sprouts. Well, anyway, basically, convincing kids to eat food that's good for them is exactly what my greatest food accomplishment is. How are we looking, Aaron? Everything looking good?
Yeah, everything was clean. Okay,
oh, wow,
cool.
It's so much better now.
Yeah.
Sorry again, guys. It was an absolute headache trying to figure out how to get this broadcast software to work, but we're going.
We're going good.
All right, so we got the cauliflower ready. One quick tutorial, the way to do, okay, this is just going to be giant chunks, whatever.
You want me to break that small?
I don't care. If you want, you can break it up by hand.
Imagine this, but with 5 different meals, and you're making it all right after coming back from snowboarding, doing double black diamonds and Mammoth, while everyone's taking their turns doing showers, and there's only 2 shower heads, or probably 1, and you got 8 people in the room in an Airbnb, and it's just Mike and I just trading off ideas hey, what do we have? What don't we have? What can we make? I want to do this. I want to use the oven. I need to use the oven. I'm just.
That's how we bonded.
Yeah.
That's how our friendship was created. So, about roasted vegetables. The thing that's really cool about this is all the vegetables in this family benefit from the same treatment. So if you learn how to do these roasted cauliflower, you can apply the same thing to Brussels sprouts or broccoli or, like I said, even cabbage. Cabbage tastes super, super good if you just roast it on high heat, 500, 550 degrees for 20, 25 minutes. The outer layers will start to crisp up and get a little bit brown and charred, and it'll be super, super tasty. You'll look at it and be like, oh, it's bad, and then you'll taste it and you'll be like, oh no, it's super good. Trust me.
Yeah.
Do you want to get these guys salted and oiled?
All right.
So.
Does everyone know? I feel so your style is definitely using a lot of Maillard effect habits, right? Everything has to be kind of finished off in the high heat at the end, right? A little toasty.
For me, caramelization is 90% of what I look for when it comes to food. I am utterly uninterested in steamed food. I know steamed food can be good. I know steamed food can be absolutely delicious, but I really like toasty brown bits. I like that little note of caramel, and I like the bitter notes that you get when you aggressively roast something on high heat or you sear something on a pan. So that's why I like these preparations. I think steamed cauliflower, steamed broccoli, they just really don't do the trick when it comes to making delicious things. Yes. Oh, How do I feel about Dino from my season of MasterChef?
Ooh.
That's a pretty good question. He's actually the winner of my season, and I'm not somebody who likes to talk trash, and I have no trash to talk. The end. So good, right? That's like the most. That's the most generous. I have so much value added with that note. Okay, no. Real talk. Dino from my season of MasterChef. So Dino, who you guys may have watched if you had seen season 8 of MasterChef, he talks with a thick New York accent, and he's like, "Baby doll," and he's like,
Christopher Walken.
yeah, he's kind of got this Christopher Walken thing, and he likes to spin like a ballerina a lot because he's listed, or he said he was a former ballerina, and I think that he does a good job making not meat taste not terrible because he's a vegan. That's one thing that he's good at, and I think that it's interesting that he doesn't have a real New York accent and grew up in San Diego. What? Oh, I didn't say that.
Oh, spilling the tea.
All right, so we've got the cauliflower, salt and peppered, and oiled up a little bit on these very adorable trays.
And how long would they cook, Mike?
We're just going to cook them until they're done. That's like the least satisfying answer that I would get in 95% of kitchens that I worked at. Literally, like, I'd ask them, like, oh, how long do I bake this pie for? And they'll be like, until it's done. It's like, that doesn't help me. Do you want to serve people food or not? Mm-hmm. But it's actually super valuable. The lesson they were trying to impart is that you have to use your senses and learn how to cook regardless of whether or not you have a firm understanding of exactly how long needs to go in. In this specific case, you're probably going to be roasting, depending on oven time, for about 20-25 minutes. I usually, in my kitchen, I know that broccoli takes about 20-21 minutes. Cauliflower takes about 23-25 minutes because it's a little denser and thicker. And Brussels sprouts take about 28 to 30 minutes. I am aiming for golden brown, crispy, and delicious, not burnt.
Exactly. And why do we put oil for baking things? Why don't we just put it as is?
That's a good question. If you actually go ahead and shove those vegetables in without dressing them with any oil, you'll discover that the vegetables end up dehydrating and getting really, really wrinkly and dry rather than crispy and delicious. So be sure to oil your vegetables liberally. Don't be bashful. After all, you're eating a vegetable, so there's nothing bad about making it taste good.
All right. So what should I put it in the oven right now?
I think we are close to preheated. Your oven is super fast.
I know. I think it's just saying 500 because it is there.
Awesome.
Feel that? Does it feel? Okay. Put that in. All right. Okay. So Mike, what were you doing earlier? Cutting all this.
So what we are going to do is we are going to take this stuff that is normally waste product, the parts of the cauliflower that you normally toss, or sometimes we'll make stock with them, and we are going to slice them up into little rounds, and then we are going to marinate them with a little bit of fish sauce, a little bit of, do you have limes?
I have lemons.
You know what? Lemons will do. Lemons or vinegar today. Should we do apple cider vinegar?
I don't have fish sauce, but I do have red wine vinegar, white vinegar, and maybe rice wine vinegar.
Oh, that sounds good. Maybe we could do like honey and red wine vinegar or something. Basically, I need an acid, I need something salty, I need something sweet, and I'm looking to introduce quite a bit of aroma to the mix. This is also commonly done in a lot of cuisines, like whether it's like Italian cuisine with their pickled, what's it called? Party foul. A lot of different cuisines do it, be it Korean, Italian, Chinese. We're just, kimchi is kind of like this. This is my rendition that my grandma came up with when we were all laboring over who ate what, or who got to eat the yummy parts of the cauliflower, and who were stuck with the fibrous stems. So, thanks to my grandma. Actually, thanks to my mom, who taught me this recipe after Grandma taught her this recipe, because I totally didn't have the bandwidth to appreciate it when I was a little kid who thought all vegetables were yucky. I was there too, kids. I was there too. Fortunately, I outgrew it. So, Emily, Alan, Ethan, Alex, you guys all have hope. Actually, it's really, really cool. My nephews and nieces are super, super good about eating the vegetables now. Isn't that right, kids? Alright, so we've got the veg in a container. We're going to use a lime, or a lemon. Interesting note, the word for lime and lemon in Thai is the same word. Well, that doesn't really add much value to you guys. Since you guys aren't Thai, you don't speak Thai, so no big deal.
No big deal.
Make sure when you squeeze your lemons to catch the seeds, because the seeds are super bitter and aren't super delicious.
You guys like this dynamic movement, the camera always changing and such?
I think my friend is struggling with motion sickness right now. She was complaining at us that we don't have a gimbal. Sorry, Elizabeth.
Yeah. Man, if you could just see this stuff, it's hilarious.
I feel like we should have started recording from the beginning so everyone could have seen us screaming and running around with their heads chopped off.
Mike was just saying testing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 over and over.
That's true.
Like, all sorts of
at one point I just lost my mind and I just was on repeat. This smells like an orange.
I know. It looks like one too.
This is an orange.
This is an orange? Damn it. Oh no. Okay, well. Ah, dude, it's a tarty one.
Well,
Can you try it? Okay, so I think my girlfriend gave this to me
Oh,
from
wow.
the backyard. It's one of the sweeter lemons out there. But it does totally look like an orange, huh?
Please.
It's juicy. Wait. Let me see if I can squeeze it.
This is 100% an orange.
Whee! 3D!
I'm actually really confused. Why does this...
Maybe it's a hybrid or something.
Yeah, this is like 100%.
Can I pour the rest of this?
Yeah, please do.
And then usually you chop up some garlic too, right?
Yeah, for this one, we'll do garlic, lime juice.
This is how I normally do my garlic. And it totally makes the entire floor wet.
I was tempted to point the camera at the floor to show all the garlic that's hitting me, but I figure we'll just leave people to it.
I wonder how many people in the chat actually like using butcher knives. If it's really common, or am I that unique snowflake?
It is not a Meyer lemon. I really, really can't discern what the heck this lemon is.
Meyer lemon?
It 100% smells like an orange. It's totally an orange, but it has no orange flavor.
Yeah, it looks very much like an orange.
Anyway, it's quite tasty. All right, so
Do we add sugar to this?
we will. Do you have some simple syrup?
I can make some. Or I can just melt some sugar with some hot water.
Yeah, let's do that. So simple syrup is a nice little thing to have in in your pantry. It's just 1 part sugar to 1 part water dissolved. It'll stay stable in your shelf. So if you ever need to add a touch of sweetness that isn't flavored with any other flavors, like honey. Honey has its own flavor. Simple syrup is super good to balance out other dishes. So sometimes you want to balance out the sour or the saltiness, and sweetness is the trick. That's what you do. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Aaron.
That's my pickle, Rick!
Yeah, this is not a pickle, but if you say so. This is a serrano pepper. So, like I said, when it comes to my style of cooking, I like to add all the flavors, regardless of the dish. Interesting note, like, when it comes to dishes like, or when it comes to Thai food, if you ever go to Thailand and you go to, like, buy fruits from a fruit vendor, you'll find that they serve their fruit with a chili salt and sometimes even a little bit of sugar. Their whole perception is that they want to add all the different flavors to the fruit, even if it is a sweet thing to eat. They want their sweet thing to eat to have a little bit of spiciness and a little bit of saltiness. We believe in balance, almost to a crazy extreme, but it's delicious. You'll just have to trust me. Wow, this is like the most frenetic experience.
I don't know what the word is, but I can smell the cauliflower.
Oh, yeah, it smells really good.
Does the streaming allow me to drink online, or should we tell people that we never drank alcohol before? I'm just kidding.
I don't know, man.
Would you like a spin drift though?
I would like. Do you have your blue butterfly blue photos?
No, it's at my.
It's okay, don't worry. Yeah, I'll take a spin drift.
All right.
This video is not sponsored by Spin Drift. Get on it, guys. Alright. Taking a beat to collect myself and talk to the people. Sorry again for the chaos. I hope you guys have not lost your minds watching this nonsense. We're having fun, and we hope you are too.
This is video is not sponsored by Spin Drift. Just a quick plug for Spin Drift though. Oh yeah, I freaking love this. My girlfriend was talking about this, and it's just like, it has all these natural flavors, but they don't call it natural, they really just list it out. So this one would say, contents under pressure, like us right now. Lemon juice, that's it. That's all it is. And then for his, it would be, bring this up. Grapefruit juice, orange juice, lemon juice, and hibiscus. Yeah, so it's pretty good, and it's a lot better than LaCroix, I feel. In fact, if you pour the colors, want to check it out, Mike?
So, I just have another question. What do I think about Jason from my season on MasterChef? And I will say, not to slight any of the other competitors. Oh wow, hey, it looks very good for you. Not to slight any of the other competitors on my specific season, but there were two chefs that I don't want to say I was like scared of, but like definitely wary of having to go head to head against. And that was Jason Wong and a guy named Yan Ban Chip. Yan. I don't actually know how to pronounce his last name. Yan didn't make the top 40. He was actually eliminated in the top 80. I think he was Jason's doppelganger. Possibly. Actually, no, he was kind of Adam's doppelganger. Interesting note, when MasterChef films, what they do is they take out basically 80 people from around the country and spend a week with them. And after a week of interviewing and just watching them cook and going through cooking boot camp, they decide to keep the top 40. Yan was actually eliminated in the top 80 and didn't make it to the top 40. But I guarantee you, if it was a real, honest competition and he got a chance to go head-to-head, that guy was easily top 4, top 3 material. So, Jason, if you ever see this, I think you're definitely deserving of top 3 placement, and maybe even higher. He's the one guy that I was genuinely like, on this show, if I had to go head against anybody, he's probably the last one I pick. I'm going to try to get him on my team.
Dang. By the way, this is what it looks like, and Mike did a really good job with it. Basically, every single time you go to Mike's place, you always see that he's like kind of pickling something, but it's on home recipe. A lot of influence from your mom, right? No, your grandma.
My grandma and my mom. I grew up with 3, well, for most of my life, I grew up with 2 really excellent chefs. My dad, who first came to America and worked as a maitre d' in an Italian restaurant, so he made really good, like authentic Caesar salad, really good spaghetti carbonara, really good, like everything Italian. It's just really good. As a random Thai guy, he managed to knock it out of the park. And I grew up with my mom, who made really good Chinese Thai food and Thai food. Like, she's still with me right now because she's stranded at my place because of COVID, so I get to enjoy that all the time. Sorry kids, I'm stealing grandma's cooking. Alright, so I've diluted with a little bit of water, and we're adding a little bit of simple syrup. This is just sugar and
Equal
hot
parts.
water.
1 to 1.
Yeah, equal parts.
You need more?
Yeah, a little more. Just eyeballing. Yeah, that's good. Alright, so we're going to let this sit. That was hot, and it's totally okay because it's just a quick pickle. You have a lid. This is
You want black pepper in there, white pepper?
Whatever you want, man. The thing I like to do when cooking is to think about the flavors and the principles that I'm applying rather than any specific recipe. So if you happen to have lemons and you don't have limes, use lemons. If you need something acidic. If you need something salty and you don't have fish sauce, do you have soy sauce? Do you have Worcestershire sauce? Do you have salt? You know, like basically, I believe in being flexible and creative in the kitchen. That means adjusting to what you have available. And you want to put some black pepper in there, so I think you should.
So Mike, what really helped you in your career to kind of understand what the industry knew about cooking? Like this is way before you getting on MasterChef, the TV show.
Sorry, say that one more time.
What really helped you get into the career, like knowing the industry and like what cooking's about? Like not a lot of people normally at home, right? Like a home cook like me growing up, and a lot of my influence was from Mike, but he had to learn it all on his own, and he got it from.
Yeah, so like I said, I kind of developed this reputation as the guy who really liked food, and I didn't want to disappoint people, so I had to like get ahead of the questions. You know, I had to learn like how to properly cook a steak. So when somebody asks me how to cook a steak, I don't have to quickly Google it and then tell them, or worse yet, give them a bad information. So what I did was I started watching a lot of food television. One of my favorite shows was Good Eats with Al Brown. A very, very science and facts and experimental, just data driven. You know, he would like test things and see if the ideas that the food world said were true. That's where I learned a lot about, you know, how Gordon Ramsay doesn't know what he's talking about. Sorry, Gordo.
Why do you feel like someone who has such a strong influence in like the food industry, like Gordon, like feels like he doesn't really know as much as we think?
So the thing is, Gordon was classically trained. He was trained by a guy named Marco Pierre White in classic French cuisine. And classic French cuisine basically was started during this time where they didn't have probe thermometers and all these really like interesting gizmos and gadgets to learn exactly what was happening to the moisture in the steak, to the exterior temperature of the vegetables, or they didn't understand like the chemical processes that cause the Maillard effect, for example. So what they did is they just kind of came up with their best guess and they started passing it down. And that started like rolling into a giant snowball of myth that included some facts and a lot of misinformation. So at the end of the day, one of the reasons why I am super antagonistic of that is because we're in a generation where we know better and we have the data to give good advice and not to do things that don't really work. I think a lot of times we labor so much to do things the classic way when we could really do a lot of shortcuts that are easier, take the edge off of the frustration of cooking, and just end up with a tastier end product.
Yeah, I think it goes to the whole methodology of like back then, in order to get into cooking, like in the 90s or whatever, you had to like get into culinary school, and I feel like
book.
and then it costed a lot of money, right? It's like private schools, culinary institutes, and then now you find people that have done that, including Roy Choi, mentioning that you don't really need to do that. You could just start out with a different platform, and I feel like that's kind of why you see so many like new content creators and like food chefs, so and so, but they never had like an industry background, right?
It's interesting. Almost every single restaurant that I trained in had some professional chefs that went to culinary school, and unilaterally, at least some of them, in many cases, many of them, regretted going to culinary school. Because at the end of the day, like you pay a lot of money, and all the things you learn, you could actually learn as an apprentice in a kitchen. So to go back onto how I learned, so after watching a lot of food TV, I ended up being invited to train in a restaurant in New York City. And my friend knew the owner of the restaurant. I was just like chatting with her. Her name is Chef Hong Taimi. She was also on the next Iron Chef. She was a competitor on Iron Chef. She was a regularly featured celebrity chef on a lot of Food Network TV shows. So Chef Hong was so gracious as to invite me to apprentice in her kitchen for a little while, and that kind of lit a fire in me. So after I trained in that restaurant, I started pursuing all these other opportunities to chase after the chefs that I super, super admired and super, super respected. That meant going to all these different restaurants in New York City. That meant going to restaurants overseas and training on different continents. Some people like to travel to surf. Some people go like chase the big waves or chase like this guy likes to snowboard and surf and all this other stuff. So he wants to go to Hawaii to surf, and I'm sure you want to go to whatever, like Porto, whatever in South America to surf. But like for me, I like chasing kitchen experiences. I like going to professional restaurants and learning from the best chefs in the world. So that's kind of how I rounded out my experience and really kind of learned most of what I learned today, or know today.
Thanks for answering all that. I know it's kind of a silly, it's too early for Christmas.
Alright, so
Any interesting comments? Except when I was funny.
we've got the pickles going, and the cauliflower is smelling like it's actually super close to being done. I didn't time it, so I'm going to use my senses to figure out if it's good.
Alright, you're gonna pull it out?
No, I'm just going to take a peek.
Alright.
You should avoid opening up the oven too often because every time you do, it releases the heat and slows down the cooking process. I can actually see quite a bit from here. And some of them are starting to pick up a little bit of color. Can you see?
Dragging this over. Dropping this down.
So it's starting to pick up some color here. And this is what I want, but I want that a little bit more evenly throughout. So I'm going to let it kick it for another 10 minutes or so.
Grab that thing real quick. Or there's a mitt underneath here. Fog bag. Here's the coolest thing about this is you can actually slide it out
Oh, nice.
to see a better kick.
So use your senses. If you
Is
want.
that burnt, Mike?
No, they are cracked.
Yeah, that's where all the flavor is happening, right? All the browning.
Mhm.
A lot of food that I have from Mike's always so crispy and really good texture for something that you wouldn't expect. That most of the time we end up eating it steamed.
Yeah, like
And
this ends up taking a really nutty, really, it's almost like a little, not popcorny, but it tastes like potato chips. It honestly tastes a little bit like potato chips. And honestly, if you can make vegetables taste like potato chips, well, you should do it. Because potato chips are delicious and they're not healthy for you, and vegetables are. So eat your potato chips, kids, and vegetables. So, like I said, wow, what are you doing? He's
playing with lights.
giving me mood lighting. So with regards to this veg, what I am trying to do is I'm trying to get that caramelization to occur all over and just to become a little bit more even. Like I said, I don't know how long I put it in, so I just popped one in my mouth. And it wasn't quite done yet. Pretty close though.
I'm gonna go through kind of like a lightning round. If you have time, should I answer? What do you prefer, lime or lemons?
I prefer limes.
All right. Should we just have you like talking to the camera, better like this?
What happened?
This is what you guys look like, by the way.
This is what you guys look like.
Look at you guys.
I have to.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to get off screen so that we can see what your messages are, like right here. Thank you so much. What about microwaves? I see microwaves.
Start singing Under Pressure.
Oh gosh.
Under Pressure.
How's it going, Mary? How's it going, guys? Yeah, so I'm waiting for vegetables to cook.
Should we taste test this real quick?
I think we
Probably
should.
too early.
I think we should. Yeah, I'm still like frazzled.
Razzle,
because of
razzle.
how difficult the tech was. So sorry in advance. This is super unprofessional, and you'll have to forgive me. I'll refund the $3 that you guys gave me for this.
Yo, unbutton his last bit of the shirt.
So, yeah, I did. Sorry. It was hot.
Dude, it is hot. We're next to an oven.
Favorite way to eat jam? Oh my gosh. Depends on what type of jam. Yeah, it really depends on what type of jam. Like I was saying earlier, I believe in like having like balanced cuisine. So a lot of times you could use jam in really interesting applications, like putting it on peanut butter. Super interesting. Like I don't think a lot of people do that, but I do, and it's just one of the ways, you know, it mixes up really, really nice, and it gives a lot of contrast. And I'm just kidding. Yeah, actually, one of the ways I like to use jam is as a marinade, believe it or not. You could use jam as an interesting, like aromatic to a marinade that would go well with pork chops, would go well with, what's another good thing? I'm trying to think. What things should I add jam to? Pork chop and pork chop.
I know when I
Ribs would do well with jam.
anything with sweetening, right?
Yeah.
Have you tried strawberry jam with milk, or just basic strawberry milk reserves? Or
Say again?
strawberry milk, like it's popular Korean.
Oh, do they do
Like
that? They put
cafe.
jam in milk?
Yeah, like strawberry jam.
I don't think I've ever done it, but all right. I got two questions. Do you ever have bad cooking days that things didn't go my way all the time, like today? Yeah, honestly, it's just about rolling with the punches. You know, like sometimes you forget things. Sometimes you don't have the ingredients you have on hand. Just like be flexible, have fun with it, and like don't take it too seriously. At the end of the day, like this is $5. No, probably like $7 of cauliflower that we're gonna eat, and it's gonna be delicious. Just because it might have been roasted 5 minutes too early, 5 minutes too slow, just because there's a little bit too much salt, too little salt on it, it's fine. We can modify it and make it do. At the end of the day, cooking should be something that brings joy, and most importantly, brings nutrition. So there are days where it's rough. There are days where I don't feel like doing it. Those are the days I use DoorDash. Also not sponsoring us.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on content creating where they just make like these crazy things that they probably haven't done before, and it looks great. We don't really know if they seasoned it well or not, but I bet they probably did an amazing job. But as us, like sometimes like being realistic to the real world, like I come back from work, I'm not gonna make like the first ingredient or no, first recipe, first time of this thing, like get it down perfectly right.
Yeah, get it wrong a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Just
or
play.
most of the time, like I order stuff that like I want to eat, and that's the only way that I have that motivation.
Mm.
And sometimes it'll come from like Mike taking me to like a random place. Like we tried Spanish tortilla, and it was so good, but it was really different. And then when he made it, it made me rediscover like, wow, this really is something that I could make and really appreciate, as opposed to something that's just like, oh, this is great, but it's a little overpriced because you're like at a nice outing place, and it's not really like some pick me up fast food.
So, interesting note, Spanish tortilla is very different than the Latin America's tortilla. You guys are probably familiar with tortilla as like a flatbread, corn-based, maize-based flatbread. But Spanish tortilla is actually an omelet. What you do is you take a really, really good olive oil and you gently cook onions, potatoes, just onions and potatoes slowly until they become tender. And then you add eggs very rapidly, and you turn that into a really, really delicious omelet. We should do an episode where I teach them how to do a Spanish omelet. I like to add fish sauce because I add fish sauce in everything.
Why do you add fish sauce in everything?
Umami.
Umami. What is umami?
MSG. Super good for you.
Yeah,
so umami is like the savory feeling savory taste that you'll get in a lot of cheeses, in a lot of cured meats, in a lot of meat, because it's a meaty taste. But monosodium glutamate, also mushrooms, but monosodium glutamate is just a flavor enhancer. It makes all the other flavors around it taste more nuanced, more vibrant. So I like to add fish sauce, even if something doesn't need that much more salt. I'll add a dash of it just to kind of brighten it up and bring out all the other flavors. We had some interesting questions over here that we'll respond. Yes, so what should I do if I'm out of olive oil? What other oils work for veggies like this? I actually wouldn't recommend olive oil for this application. I would recommend a neutral oil, whether it's canola or corn or even peanuts, or sunflower, like so. Trader Joe's, still not sponsoring us. Somebody's got to get on it, guys. We're poor Asian people who need sponsors. But yeah, like the number one reason I avoid olive oil is because olive oil has all these volatile oils, all these flavorants. The olive oil has a different flavor than something like a sunflower or a canola oil. And when you roast that on high heat or even like saute with that, all those oils burn off, and you're wasting a more expensive oil when a cheaper oil will do the trick just fine. I prefer lime over lemon. Do you recommend home cooks try out for MasterChef, or is that just baloney? What do you say?
Well, you gotta ask yourself why you're trying out for MasterChef. Are you trying to learn as a chef, or are you trying to be famous?
Yeah, I think in retrospect, look, at the end of the day, anyone's gonna, people might look at me and be like, oh, you're so salty, you're just annoyed that you didn't win. And it's like, yeah, I would have liked to win. I think when I was going through it, I would have liked to win. But now that it's over, I actually have no regrets. There's a real part of me that actually is glad that I didn't win. The life and restriction. What are you doing? Aaron is like a real life cartoon. He if you could pixelate and then just become 2D, it would seem like a very appropriate. Yeah, see. Anyway, back to the answer. I'm really glad that I have the freedom to do what I want with my culinary career. A lot of the people who do MasterChef end up being contractually obligated to do all these things like make appearances, and they have to like promote products they don't believe in. And for me, like after I left MasterChef, I got to train on 4 different continents in some of the best restaurants in the world. Rather than going off and like pretending to be a super talented chef on TV, I got to actually learn how to be a really good chef in the world. That said, like it was a really interesting experience. It was really hard and really, really stressful in some ways, but also like when the competition started and when I started cooking, it honestly was really fun. You know, it felt like an adrenaline rush, like I was like playing a sport. So for that reason alone, I don't regret it. I don't regret, you know, just having that experience. But interestingly enough, if you like that experience, another place to get it, professional kitchens. If you guys are kind of like competent in the kitchen and you want to see what it's like in the industry and you love food, one thing I would recommend is you could reach out to a local restaurant that you really, really like. Generally, you want to look for a restaurant that's like not an Olive Garden, you know, a restaurant that's like has a named chef and has some clout in the industry. And what you can do is you call them up and ask them if they take apprentices. The in-industry's term for an apprentice is called a stage, from the French word stagiaire. I might be pronouncing that word wrong, but it means to shadow. So that's actually how I got most of my like real-world experience, by staging at various restaurants owned by my friends or run by some of the people that I knew, or just reaching out to famous chefs and kind of getting my feet wet that way. I smell something super delicious. Super, super delicious. And I think it's absolutely vegan.
It's absolutely vegan.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Alright, that's totally done. Aaron, what does that smell like to you?
It smells kind of like potatoes in a sense.
Oh yeah, it kind of does. Like the crispy, like French fried potatoes.
Yeah, there's kind of. It feels like stuff you get at like urban plates or like all those like really baked, smelly, meaty things. They're like very carby, like potatoes. Which is probably why cauliflower, they use it for cauliflower rice and all that jazz. Look at that. That is a nice sear, and what's really interesting I find is I think the brown parts are probably the areas where it didn't get as much flavor, right?
I have no idea, to be honest. I think it's actually the places that are most exposed to the heat, like the high points.
Yeah.
And the places closest to the metal, because metal is a conductor of heat, and you are going to have brown bits, more brown bits on your tray. All right, kids. Emily, Alan, Ethan, Alex, it's time to eat. Uncle says you can eat now. Oh wait, you're far away. Sorry, guys. Miss you guys a lot. Hope you guys are doing okay during this COVID pandemic, by the way. All right, so I think these should go into a bowl. You want to toss them with an herb? What do you think?
An herb?
Do you have an herb? Green onions, maybe?
Yes, green onions.
Green onions are nice and easy.
Would you like to add the vinegar or anything to it?
Let's take a taste and see what it needs. I think like maybe a splash of vinegar and
Got red wine.
Yeah.
White wine.
So again, like, sorry guys, I didn't come up with a recipe in advance. I kind of considered like giving you a strict rule book to go by so that you could cook along with us and not just tit for tat. But we're just kind of improvising and freestyling in the kitchen. That's actually how I like to cook more than anything else. It leads to innovation. It leads to new delicious things, and sometimes it's not so good, and you learn from those times, and you adjust. Let's not cut ourselves off.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Oh, oops.
Aaron, can you not be so tall? Thank you. It's annoying to me because it's one of my best friends. And we always hang out. And he's really tall, and that makes me look less tall. I'm not very tall to begin with.
We have a friend. Actually, yeah, alright, let's see.
No comment.
No comments there. But, did you know that Mike's torso and my torso are exactly the same?
That's true.
He looks like a Michael Phelps.
Yeah, I have really short legs. It's a really random fact. But I have really long torso.
Why don't we try doing a toss with all three? Because basically, I think Mike and I are kind of more in tune with how we should flavor things. Whenever something comes out and it's really rich, And rich is actually an interesting word. Like, what makes something rich? Like, hot chocolate is richer than the powdered hot chocolate with only water because you added milk. And milk is dairy with fat, so it makes it creamy, and that's usually with rich. And if this is rich in flavor, I feel like anything rich can be complemented with something acidic, right?
Yeah.
That's why all of these would work really well.
I think, so for me, when I'm looking at it, I see a white vinegar, I see a red wine vinegar, and I'm seeing a balsamic vinegar. Like, we could mix them all and apply them, but I personally would pick the balsamic because the balsamic is going to have a sweeter note. That said, I think we should totally experiment and do things your way and see how it turns out.
Let's start with balsamic first.
Sounds good.
Sorry.
Couple of quick responses. Do I still practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I have not because it's COVID and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu requires you get up all in somebody's business and I don't want to get COVID. Yeah, Adrian. Adrian asks, have you ever considered using crispy rice for texture? I will straight up use crispy rice by itself in a bowl and eat it like cereal. One of the best...
Want to try one right now?
Oh yeah, I do. One of my favorite things to do, to add a nutty note to a dish or a little bit of crisp to a dish, is to take a skillet, add white rice, uncooked white rice, turn it on medium, and keep that rice moving and toss it until it's golden brown and crunchy all around. You could then blitz that in like a food processor or pound it out in a mortar and pestle or just eat it just as is, and it adds this really, really nice aroma to your dish. I'll put that on anything. Like I'll put that on, I put that on vegetables, I put that on steak, I put that on pasta. It's just one of my cheater tactics to make food taste a little tastier. What do you think makes somebody a good chef? Aaron, what do you think makes somebody a good chef?
I think a good chef, and I kind of forgot to handle this in, try this balsamic. It's really like anything else. Being humble and being diligent, I feel like someone that's willing to learn and always knows that he doesn't know enough and always lets someone else come into their kitchen and kind of teach them something and even try something that they thought instinctively would be wrong. For instance, like, I don't know, salting boiling pasta, like the seawater. Mike told me that's not really true. You don't want it to be as salty as seawater because then that's going to overkill it. Things like cracking eggs on the side of the bowl and then him telling me I should do it on the countertop. I think it's just the ability just to, like, even the best chefs in the world should be humble enough to know they don't know everything. And certain chefs out there kind of have this attitude where, like, because they've done so much, they've already experienced it all. And I think that really goes to show certain people that are kind of insecure about where they're staged at. Because even if you know everything in one culture, you always, like, be a complete noob when it comes to another.
That's super good.
Oh, yeah. Well, somebody's great. But yeah, if you guys want to be a good chef, if you were to cook with us, I can tell right away if you have the potential to be a good chef. Assuming I'm talking through Mike's eyes, based on the willingness of trying new things and also the attentiveness of, like, waiting for someone to demonstrate before jumping in. There's nothing more annoying, and I've had this done with so many people. So many people related to me and so many people that I'm, like, currently dating, where when I chop onions and I have this whole bear claw technique, they just won't, like, want me to finish demonstrating it. They're like, I got it. And you do it. They're not even doing anywhere close to how I'm demonstrating it. And they're like, well, you know what? Like, everyone has their own ways. And to me, I feel like there's a certain point where you could say that's true and be PC about it, but I really respect those that really want to learn, like, from the ground up, right? Even if it's from someone that isn't, like, famous as Mike or someone that
famous as me, like,
yeah,
me and my 262 YouTube subscribers. Hopefully 263 now, because somebody on this channel is probably watching who isn't subscribed yet. So click on that subscribe button. No, joking aside, I'm not that famous, and I'm not famous at all.
Dude, everyone in South Bay knows you, man.
Yeah, right. I would add that to be a good chef, like, practically things that really can, maybe this isn't a bar that prevents you from being a good chef, because I have moments where I'm not this myself, but organization is a great tool. One of the lessons that I got from one of the chefs I studied under, his name is Chef David Lefebvre. He he was on also MasterChef or Top Chef. He was on Top Chef. He was a guest on Hell's Kitchen. Very, very famous guy. He started a restaurant that I worked at called Manhattan Beach Post. Trained at, didn't work at. He said, sorry, long introduction. He said, a clear station is a clear mind. And I think that speaks volumes. A lot of times, like when you're cooking something super complicated, you're tempted to just keep going and push to get all the elements into the pan, into the pot, and your station is an utter mess. A clear station is a clear mind. Slow it down a little bit, organize, make sure everything is tidied up, everything is put in its place, and you'll find that not only will you end up cooking faster, you'll be prone to making fewer mistakes, and you'll make way less of a mess and have way less to do to clean up. So one of the things that I always try to encourage people to do is to like slow it down and be cleaning after every step, because it's not like we're on TV and we don't have like a production crew to clean up after us. So slow it down and clean it up. Oh wow, yeah. Fancy.
Dude, this thing with red wine makes it look like a completely alien-looking dish where it's like all pink on the inside out or something.
So one of the cool things about this type of cauliflower, or what is it? Basically, the chemical that makes this pink and purple is the same thing that makes red cabbage pink and purple, and it has a really, really cool reaction to acid. So it goes from being purple to bright pink, and you can see. Let's give them an example of. So this is an example of what the cauliflower looks like without the acid, and that's what it looks like with the acid. So if you're looking to step up your presentation game, that's one way you can add a lot of dimension and interesting, beautiful colors to your dish. Red cabbage or colored cauliflower and acid. So pink cauliflower instead of purple cauliflower.
Let's see.
I think I covered them all.
Oh,
You're
someone's
a jerk,
gonna
Josh.
subscribe
You're a
today.
jerk. Oh, thank you for the subscription. Much love. Sorry for talking about my mouth full. So, another thing that makes a good chef, in my opinion, is a willingness to stress test ideas. I kind of discussed this a little bit earlier when I was talking about how one of my pet peeves is like mythological ideas that don't have root in fact. I think it's super, super valuable to like ask questions like, why does stuff taste good? Why does that technique work? Sorry, I'm making a mess in your house.
Oh, yeah.
And in many cases, I think a lot of people are just so fixated on repeating the same thing with the rote tradition and the rote instructions again and again and again, that they're unwilling to question or unwilling to challenge or unwilling to even like experiment. And that leads to like a banal situation. You know, you want to like have like interesting creativity occur in the kitchen. And if you're just making the same chicken parmesan every single Friday, you might make a killer chicken parmesan, but can you eat chicken parmesan every single day of the week? I can't. Time to like change up the types of cheeses used. Time to change up the type of tomatoes used. Don't use tomatoes. Use
Tomatoes.
There's literally one fruit that I'm trying to think of that won't come to my mind.
Is it sweet
It's
tarty?
cantaloupe.
Cantaloupe?
No, it's not cantaloupe. There's like a juicy. Use loquats. You know, like whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like change it up, create something interesting. Use a jam instead of using tomatoes, or make a jam for tomatoes. Use apricots for your chicken parmesan. Who knows? It might be terrible. It might be good. Do it once and find out. And if you discover that it's terrible, don't do it again.
Another thing is like, Mike and I grew up being like Chinese American, Thai American, or he's Thai American, with a Chinese ethnicity, and it's like, I don't know. At least I didn't grow up eating gravy and biscuits, but I eat a lot of Asian foods. But even then, I don't have it down to a T where I knew exactly what's good or not, what's authentic or not, compared to my parents who lived in Taiwan, or his parents who lived in Thai. So it's like, how do we end up like learning more about what makes Asian food go together? And part of it is just immersion, and then just trying to, travel, and also like local, like even Panda Express, you can order that food. You can ask yourself like, why is this orange chicken so good? And if you have friends that encourage you rather than being like, can you just shut up and eat? Like, you'll end up learning a lot, right? like orange chicken tastes so good because it's that tanginess that you get from whatever their sweet and sour sauce that you use. And you break down what a sweet and sour sauce is, no different than a lot of the
Orange
hot,
juice.
spicy, sweet and sour, like Tabasco or Tapatio. They always have vinegar in it.
Mhm.
So it's like each time you learn something, you break it down a little bit. It kind of helps you understand, appreciate. Hey, like I actually like this, or I don't like vinegar until it becomes an orange chicken or something. And then that kind of helps you like break down to like what is your style, what's your favorite kind of food.
Another thing is like if you know that you like orange chicken and you don't like vinegar, ask yourself what happened to this vinegar to make it taste good to me. I think one of the best things that you could do to develop yourself as a chef, if you're interested, is to travel. Like, I know it's not an easy thing, especially in like today's society with COVID and all. And I know it's expensive, but if you have the opportunity, like broaden your horizons, go and like explore different countries and experience different cuisines firsthand. Honestly, I can say with 100% conviction, I can't cook Thai food here as good as the Thai food that I can eat like from a street vendor in Thailand or from like an average restaurant there. The ingredients are different. The herbs are different. Okay, I will. Everything is different, and like honestly, a lot of times when I come back here, I come back with like so many like flavor stories in my head that I want to figure out how to replicate, even if I don't have the necessary ingredients to do so. So, travel, expand your horizons, try new foods, and play in the kitchen. We're almost out of time here.
Yeah.
But this was super fun, and thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out with us as we horse around and act all frenetic and crazy. But
Quickly, can you conclude? Try that one. Tell me which one's your favorite out of all the vinegars that we tried. Man, we gotta try this one. It's because people have to see it. I already know what my favorite is.
I'm like genuinely surprised at how good this is.
That's just white vinegar.
This isn't my like fake face. You know, I have a reaction face. I have a face that I'm like prepared to like pretend that something tastes good when I'm on my own food TV show. Sometimes it's like this good, and I'm like just so you know, ham it up so you guys experience it. But this is actually really surprisingly good. I think I like the balsamic the most personally. That like caramel sweetness complements and contrasts the char really, really nicely. I also like the plain vinegar one.
I feel like the plain vinegar is my favorite because I'm eating it and it tastes so good, but it's one of those things where you just be like, what did you do to this? It looks like you just put it in the oven, you know?
Yeah.
Like balsamic, everyone kind of knows what it tastes like. Sweet red vinegar, it's actually kind of cool because most people don't know you can get things to look neon like that. But yeah, so one person asked the question, if not answered yet, what is Gordon Ramsay like in person, off and on camera by Minnie Love Doraemon?
That's the K-show.
Oh.
So, Gordon Ramsay is like, he's a lot like you see him on TV. You know, there's times where he's nice and he's genuine and he's encouraging. And there's times where he's a jerk. At the end of the day, I don't want to like bash the show. I don't want to bash people who like tried really hard to accomplish things on the show. But just getting you in frame here. But at the end of the day, like, you have to remember, like, this is a TV show. You know, they're not actually. There's a lot that happens that isn't necessarily based on fact. They're just trying to make an interesting show for people to watch, and sometimes that means they compromise on the truth of the matter. Sometimes they cut corners and edit things together so that things are a little bit different than you would imagine. But at the end of the day, like, you know, they're not. This isn't like the Great British Bake Off. You know?
Yeah.
People are tuning in to watch the drama, and they know that. So obviously they're going to ham it up. To answer the question about Gordon Ramsay, I think he can be a jerk. I think he absolutely can be a jerk. But I also think that he can be a decent guy. I think at the end of the day, you have to understand that he's an actor first and foremost, and it's not his job to necessarily communicate like how to cook or like conduct the greatest cooking competition on the planet. But rather, his job is to make entertaining TV. And sometimes he makes entertaining TV by making people look bad, which kind of sucks. Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not associated with that.
My brother says that I shouldn't eat your pickled cauliflower because you shoved your fist in it.
Okay, so how many people are actually bothered by when you see chefs use their hands to make food? Because I've seen that a lot on TikTok, and then when they try food, because for a while, like Mike would always serve me food with his hands, and like before I was super into like cooking, I was a little bit annoyed by it because I was just like, I hope he's not eating with the same hands. But then I don't know if either I got desensitized to it or maybe I just didn't really focus that he's been washing hands in between. But yeah, like, what do you think?
I try to like be aware of how people feel. Apparently, I wasn't aware enough.
Well, I mean, now I don't know because it's like now I feel like I'm in the same boat as you, right? It's like when we cook food and we taste test, like our hands is no different than gloves, so long as we don't get saliva on our fingertips, right?
My brother warned me not to eat this because you put your hand in it. But I'm gonna do it anyway.
He's gonna die. 2 weeks later.
Pretty good.
Let's see. Did you ever ate a friend's food and didn't like it? Did you let them know or save it? And did you throw it away?
I think it's important to be nice. I think it's important to be encouraging. And I think there are times where I've eaten food that wasn't super great, but I could find good things about it. And it's important to like concentrate on the good, you know? Like there's constructive criticism to give that constructive criticism. There's no need to be a jerk. There's no need to just like make somebody feel bad about what they've done. Especially if they're receptive to hearing what you think about cooking, then by all means, just like offer a little bit of, oh, you know, like maybe you want to make your pasta a little bit al dente. Don't cook it until it's super, super soft. That's a good way to make your.
And that's what you say when you met them for the first time. But when you get really close to them, this is what they do. You try it. And you're like, how is it, Mike? It's missing something. Sugar, salt, and that's like if you get like I guess annoyed by that or harassed by that. That's something that you might need to get used to when it comes to like the food industry. Everyone's very like quick and very crass, or very blunt to say what they have to say, right? Whenever they're cooking, they say like hot food behind or like sharp behind. And I feel like the same thing goes with their comments on your food. And it's not to just say you're bad at it, but kind of give you the instant feedback. Yeah. But hopefully they also compliment you as a person at the end of the day, and they don't just constantly just try to.
Yeah, like if somebody's like putting you down and just making you feel bad without giving any sort of constructive feedback, then you probably don't need to listen to their opinion because there's plenty of people out there who just want to make you like stop cooking or discourage you from like following out this passion. And there's plenty of people out there who will be super encouraging and give you tips about how to improve. One final question from Josh, and then I feel like we've been keeping these people on for like an hour and
thanks so much for being very patient with us.
Thank you for tolerating all our craziness and silliness. But the final question, I think the final question is, would you ever try out to do a show like Iron Chef? Would you, Aaron?
Oh, dude, I would love to.
I would absolutely love to get involved in a show that was actually about the cooking. You know, like where it's just about you versus you cooking. But at the same time, I think it's super weird that we have cooking competitions. Like, we don't have like cleaning competitions. We don't have like toilet scrubbing janitorial competitions. How do we have cooking competitions? You know, it's like such a strange phenomenon that we've created. That said, I will say it's a lot of fun to cook and to cook competitively. So I would absolutely love to try to do a thing like MasterChef or Iron Chef or Top Chef. Top Chef, I can't roll. Those guys are so good. But yeah. Anyway, guys, this is the first episode of our next season. Tune in. We're going to be featuring a lot of really cool stories from different industry people. You will find out that somebody was on the season of MasterChef 11. That was on the season of MasterChef 11. If you look in the promo videos, you'll see it too. But we're also going to talk to a lot of people from around the world and hear them share a little bit about their culinary journey as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe if you like what you see. If you don't, do it anyway. Don't be a jerk. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye!